So a roller coaster of a game ends with a bit of drama. In fact, plenty of drama. Not drama of the kind that takes something to the last ball, but drama of the variety of an individual getting magnificent figures of 6 for 7, including a hat-trick. The first Indian to take a hat-trick in T20 internationals. Magnificently done, Deepak Chahar, and ensuring that a match which at one stage Bangladesh looked as if they were slight favourites went for not just a match but a series victory for Team India, finishing things off in Nagpur. Let's just remind you of the scores. India putting on 174 for 5 in 20 overs. They certainly would have wanted 180, 190 at the start, but then the slight slow nature of the pitch initially making it seem like 174 was a good score. Bangladesh made a great fist of it, especially while Naeem was out there with 81 of 48, but then a magical spell from Deepak Chahar, 6 for 7 of 3.2 overs, finishing things off. India win by 30 runs. Just a quick mention among all that carnage to Shivam Dube, because throughout we were saying that, well, India have only 5 bowlers. They have to somehow get Shivam Dube's overs out. He not only got them out, he picked up 3 wickets, and 3 wickets at crucial times as well. So overall, a team effort from Team India, and I think the panel here in the studio would be delighted. Joy Bhattacharjya, Zaheer Khan. It's one of those times when you look at a 6 for 7. Could have actually been more than 2 or 3 for 7, but overall, things were in charge in those last few overs.
What a fantastic performance. This match is for me like, it's like the Dilwale Dulhaniya or Hum Aapke Hain Kaun of matches. You know, it had everything, right? Drama, emotion, everything. And not just that, it wasn't a one-sided India win. They were 110 for 2. I mean, they were chasing the 9 odd overs. They had less than 9 to chase. And then suddenly things come back. Then the bowler who you think, see, the only man who predicted, and all I can safely say in all other predictions around the country, who said Shivam Dube will find it good to bowl out here and things will be very different, is a certain gentleman sitting beside us who's taken a fair amount of wickets in international cricket. Right at the start, he said, Shivam Dube's, you know, the way this pitch will suit his bowling, and it just came out exactly as he said.
And also for the fact that he has bowled 4 overs, you know, it's still early days for him at this level. So these kind of spells will certainly give him that confidence, you know, which is required. And the fact that only 5 bowlers were playing today, he also, in terms of his preparation, must be at ease in terms of preparing for the innings. You know, when you know that no matter what, you will be bowling 4 overs. So that, I think, you know, put those other thoughts also away. Whether I'll be bowling, I'll not be bowling, at what stage I'll be bowling, you know, all those kind of factors also matter a lot, I think, in terms of preparation and just focusing on the job in hand. Having said that, I think, you know, Deepak Chahar also, you have to give that credit, you know, Shivam Dube for sure, you know, because a lot was expected of him, and he lived up to the expectation. He'll gain that confidence. But I think with Deepak Chahar, what impressed me a lot was he was in a different role today. You know, he came in as a one-change bowler. If you see, Washington Sundar started, then Khalil started, then Washington Sundar, and then he came on to bowl, which is not a usual thing for him to do.
Plus only 1 over in the foul play.
Exactly. So he was playing a different sort of a role. And imagine what we've been talking about, like, you know, someone taking that more responsibility in terms of giving that confidence to the team management and the skipper to be used in those later half of the innings as well. Which has been a concern in terms of defending. You know, when you're talking about defending, you need someone to absorb that pressure. So I think from that point of view, this performance will give Deepak Chahar also loads of confidence, and the management and the captain as well enough confidence to be looked at a bowler in a different manner as well. Like, you know, someone who can do the job at any stage in 20 overs, and I think that comfort zone is very important when we are talking about long term. You know, you have someone like, say, Bumrah coming back, and you know that he will be the leader of the pack. He will be taking the responsibility in terms of bowling that breakthrough bowler and bowling those back end of the innings as well. But he needs support, and I think, you know, when you're talking about it, then Deepak Chahar, this performance, I think, will go a long way. I like the fact that he was using his variations as well. You know, those knuckle balls. Today's wicket was also helpful for the variation kind of a bowling, which Shivam Dube also took advantage of. And Deepak Chahar was also outstanding with the variations.
Interestingly, if you look back at this game and you just look at the scoreboard and you see 6 for 7, you'd probably expect Deepak Chahar to bowl 3 up front, some searing, moving deliveries early on with a new ball and get those wickets, not the ones with the knuckle balls, the slower balls. Only at the end he got a bowled.
The others were all caught at the boundary, exactly as you were saying. But I think that's one of the reasons of the success of today, that he used the conditions. He knew this was not the place where you're going to do, hard, beautiful stump, you're going to do great outswing bowling. This is the kind of place where the batsmen are struggling to time it. You're going to get your wickets in the boundary. And so he stuck to the plan. And I think that's important. And that's why probably if, he had written his boarding pass to Australia, I think he's now got the immigration stamp almost surely. I mean, unless something really goes wrong, I think because he's shown he's got the temperament, and more importantly, as he said, that I'm not just at the top bowler. I can bowl at the death as well, I can bowl in the middle as well, and he's proved it today under crucial circumstances. Remember, this is again a crunch match. And the other thing, you have a look at it, last 7, including this match, last 8 one-day series, T20 series where we are 1-1, we won 7 of the 8. So somewhere we've learned how to convert at the end.
And just staying on Shivam Dube, I mean, we talked about Deepak Chahar also playing a different role today. But how much will it mean for a young bowler, not just to, of course, come up with wickets, but the nature of the wickets? He got Mushfiqur Rahim bowled, first ball, and then, of course, Naeem, who's batting in the 80s, seeing the ball beautifully. What a yorker to get him out. So it's that will make him a different person?
Absolutely, there is no doubt. It's always about crossing that bridge, isn't it? You can be performing to the best of your abilities, putting runs or taking wickets at a first class level or list A level, and then when you're playing international level, that bridge you have to cross, and that confidence you have to gain, and there is no better way of gaining that confidence with performances. So I think this kind of performance where you get a set batsman out who was looking threatening, could have taken the game away. It's a high pressure game, 1-all series, the decider you are playing. So all those factors and put together, you perform under those kind of pressures. That gives you a lot of confidence, and then that builds that sense of belief that you belong here. You can have an impact with your performances here and help your team win matches. So that goes a long way. So I think for any cricketer who is starting his career at the international level, that process is a very vital component of your success. And you've seen players respond differently to that. You've seen best of the players actually fumbling under that pressure and finding it difficult. But when these kind of performances happen early in your career, then I think that monkey usually goes off your back, saying that okay, I can do it here, I can have a contribution, I can do winning contribution, and that is something which Shivam Dube will be looking at and or feeling, looking ahead for the next series. I mean, imagine if he had not come up with this kind of performance, and the series is over. You are then thinking about, okay, what is my next thing? From am I going to be picked? Am I not going to be picked? What should I do to sustain and keep part of this setup? So that's something which all those questions will be at ease. He will feel at ease with this confidence. He will prepare better for the coming matches.
Now, interesting, we talk about trivia. There are lots of little things were thrown in there, not just for individuals, but for the ground itself. How about that? The first ever T20 international hat-trick goes to an Indian in Nagpur, and the first ever for an Indian in ODIs, Chetan Sharma, where? In Nagpur. Different ground, same city. So Nagpur gets a little bit of trivia to add to its other kitty. But in terms of this match itself, there were some bizarre numbers. Let me throw the first one at you before we bring our graphics up. And that was 4 times in the same innings, you had 2 wickets falling in successive deliveries. 4 times. Not once, not twice, not thrice. 4 times we saw that. Right at the beginning, you had 12 for 1, 12 for 2, then 110, 3 and 4. Then you had 126, 5 and 6, and right at the end, 144, 9 and 10. That was, of course, part of the split hat-trick for Deepak Chahar. So that's quite bizarre. And in the middle of all this, 4 sets of wickets falling in 2-2-2-2, you had a massive partnership just under 100 runs. Before that partnership, 2 boundaries were scored. After that partnership, 2 boundaries were scored. So you could see what a lopsided game.
It's a tale of 2 innings, It's a 1 innings of this great partnership. I mean, Naeem was absolutely fantastic. Until he was that thing that bought the run rate. Look at that, 98 of 61. They timed it beautifully. And look at Mithun. Mithun has just made just under a run a ball. It's Naeem who's done the running. And he's done it so beautifully. He's punished the loose ball. He's forced bowlers into losing their form. Our most successful bowler, Chahal, he's literally hit out of the attack. I mean, it's rarely, I know there's Dube, but Chahal is an experienced bowler. It's rare that you wonder how he's going to complete, or the captain wonders how Chahal is going to complete his 4 overs. But that was the situation. And from there, the fact that the Indians bought it back is creditable, but equal credit to a man who put so much, such a young man, who put so much pressure on to the Indian attack.
Yes, first game that India have defended since November 6th, 2018, successfully defended. Now let's go forward and show you the numbers that we promised. And I think this tells the story of the game. The innings progression, let's have a look at the first innings, and this was the Bangladesh innings. 33 for 2, 92 for 2, and then 19 for 6. Now this, of course, we've already kind of touched upon. Never mind that run rate. It's those 6 wickets that fell in that spell. But what about this particular part of it? In terms of 4s and 6s, I've briefly alluded to it, but you can see this tells the story over there between overs 6 and 12.
Absolutely. They were getting boundaries, and what was happening was the bowlers were coming under pressure. Very often those boundaries were in the first ball of the over, and what is happening as a result were bowlers were then trying to figure out where am I going to bowl the next 5 to get out. The moment this partnership breaks, the moment Naeem is under pressure, the moment they are under pressure, all this changes. So much of this game, it tells you so much of it is about pressure and this kind of pressure that you can put on the players. And they did a very good job of it.
And when you mentioned the first ball and that we saw from that, it was something that was premeditated. They had decided that if Chahal is going to have problems with the wet ball, let's go after him. Let's not tell ourselves, oh, we've got a bad record against leg spinners. And you could see that from that first ball that was beautifully played straight. It was the intent.
Also, when you're chasing total like 174, if your target is 175, you're always calculating that. And Bangladesh had a slow start, relatively slow start. 5 overs, 18 runs. So at some stage, they had to up the ante and put the pressure on the bowlers. So that was the thought process. And generally, batting units they approach the chases in this fashion, where they look to put pressure on the bowlers on that first delivery. That makes things a little easier for them to take say 8 runs, 9 runs easily from that over, and that's something which was working for them. And when you have set batsman batting, usually invariably you are under that extra pressure that was happening. I felt Naeem was really good in this particular inning, and certainly the find for Bangladesh of this series.
Absolutely.
So that I think that's something which they'll certainly look at. I think this on the whole, this series has been there's been a lot of gains for Bangladesh, in terms of getting that first win under the belt for against India, first victory. They fought through and through. Everyone were expecting that maybe the last game will be India will steamroll. That didn't really happen. They were always under pressure, and they had to really fight for the victory. In terms of losing wickets in cluster, that has been Bangladesh's problem in the series, and their key players also not part of this series. So that's how they will look at it. I think on the whole, they will be happy with the way series has gone for them.
We talk about clusters. Today was an amazing set of 4 clusters. But just like Zaheer mentioned about, say, someone like Shivam Dube, who's now come across and he's found the challenge. For Team India, much of the talk at the start was, okay, can we defend the total? Can we defend the total? Now here you've got not your A attack, but yet they've defended. What will this mean for India going ahead?
It'll mean a lot. It'll mean a lot, not just because they defended, but they defended after what had happened by the 12th over. So they're 110 for 2, they're in 8 overs to get. The run rate is less than 9 at that point in time. It's not even 9, it's less than 9.
With 8 wickets in hand and the ball wet.
And the ball wet. And they're wondering, look, Shivam Dube has gone for runs. They don't know. They're wondering, other people are wondering, where are you going to hide him? Where are you going to hide Chahal? Where are you going to hide Shivam Dube? They have 4 overs of these guys to get out. And the fact that they convert that into a win is really important. If they had, got early wickets and finished it off, if the big partnership had not happened, you wouldn't have looked at it the same way. So I think this is a very important win for India. And the other thing, every bowler has not performed on every day, if you know what I mean. So Chahal performed one day, Shivam Dube and Deepak Chahar have got wickets today. Similarly, batsmen, it was Shreyas Iyer's day, it was his day, Rahul's day, it was Rohit's day. It's always good when you have a series where, different people have got wins for you. It's not one 3-4 guys who have done all the hard work, and that Team India will take a lot of heart from.
Yep, and you mentioned with the ball, but with bat as well. I mean, today Rohit Sharma was brilliant the previous game. Today he didn't come to the party. Shikhar Dhawan started well, didn't carry on. You had a brand new player in Manish Pandey finishing it off, and then in the middle, the real big plus for India in KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer.
That partnership was very crucial. I think KL looked really good today, and in terms of communication also, you could see that there was understanding in terms of KL Rahul putting the pressure on the bowler, so he was the aggressor in that partnership, and Shreyas was just waiting for his time, and then he upped the ante at that stage. So that's something which was important as well, and Shreyas certainly is looking at peace, you can say, with that position in terms of his role, and he's gaining more and more confidence, which is good for Indian team also going forward.
And Shivam Dube also, I mean, he said after the game that the big key thing was he was backed by his skipper. He said he didn't want to give boundaries, wanted to bowl the heavy ball, but I think the big thing was the confidence instilled in him. It was not just about, Shivam, we need to get your overs out quickly. It was, here's the ball, do it.
No, I think that's been true, and I mean, Shivam is a Bombay kid, and Rohit will know the kind of pressures that Mumbai cricket goes under. And I think if Rohit, as a captain, if you look at him, he's tactically very smart. But I think what the greatest thing he's done, whether it's with the Mumbai Indians as a team or whenever he takes charge of Team India's, he gives the players. I mean, you see that statement before as well. As I said, it's giving Rishabh the chance to say, don't worry about it. No matter what the rest of the world thinks, we back you. Similarly, he's backing players, and that is, I think, the single most important job for not just the captain but also the coach, for the players to know that they have the unreserved backing. And I think
even before any statements were made, the very fact that you've chosen 5 bowlers, you've already told Shivam Dube before the match starts that
absolutely,
you're bowling 4
you have
overs.
the confidence to do 4. Absolutely, and that's exactly what Zach was talking about. That he's mentally prepared, because sometimes if you don't know if you're going to bowl at all, your prep is not the same. If you know that, okay, captain needs me for 4 overs, I'm going to look at the match very differently.
Yeah. And again, going back to Shreyas Iyer, he said he even used the word dicey when he talked about the pitch. So while we might be trying to assess it from so far away, you could see from those first few overs when India batted that it's not going to be easy. He took his time. You mentioned it briefly, but I think that was the key to his innings. I mean, sometimes you can come and play a cameo, but the key is to wait and wait.
That's what we are here for, to analyze, right? and when you're talking about the innings from both the sides, in terms of losing wickets in clusters, 2 wickets have been falling together. That was also indication that it wasn't sort of wicket where as a batsman, if you're just walking in, you can go from the word go. You have to take your time, adjust to the pace of the wicket, understand how the wicket is playing, and then go for it. That's why the importance of set batsmen was high, and the similar kind of thing happened with Indian batting as well, where KL and Shreyas really did that main role of that partnership putting together. And it was the similar story with Bangladesh innings as well. Had that not happened, then things would have been completely different. But the importance of a set batsman taking the team through was the highest on these kind of surfaces. So surface decide how the game is going to go. And today was one of those days where as a batsman or as a bowler, you have to really understand the condition and execute the plans accordingly.
If only I had the premonition of a surface when I was sitting earlier in the afternoon making my 11 circle team, because I would have thought of maybe making Deepak Chahar as captain or vice captain, which I had in a previous game, didn't give me anything. Today, anyone who had him as captain would have been rocking, which means our My 11 Circle ultimate team of the day, there you can see it, just to confirm, Naeem would have to be your vice captain and Deepak Chahar as captain. You have to have your other key players in terms of Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, and everybody else just filling in to get the rest of the numbers for your ultimate team of the day. Which also means that we have a winner as our My 11 Circle champion of the day. Who's our champion today? And what's the score? With 329 for 5, I'm glad the trend of the very trendy shades are back. Arjun Patole from Maharashtra, 329.5. You will be rewarded with hashtag Dada Kavada 329.5. And of course, Deepak Chahar as captain was the answer. And it was one of those that would be inevitable for a player of the match. But from Bangladesh's point of view, Zaheer briefly touched on it, that there have been positives. And I think positives for both sides, but they will look back and say, no Shakib Al Hasan, no Tamim. We talked about it. They could have been blown away 3-0.
No, absolutely. They've given a very good fight. Mahmoodullah has proved to be a very calm and a very perceptive captain. He's rung in the changes well in the field. He's done well. Today he brought in Shomo Sharkat. He knew the conditions suited. I thought the first innings he rotated his bowlers beautifully. And I think most importantly, again, you've got a prospect in Naeem who looks like a genuine prospect. This guy looks as if he can play. And it's not very often that you find a guy who you say that, okay, this guy can, probably bat the next 5-7 years. He can do a lot for Bangladesh.
And the beauty of it is he may not have got that kind of opportunity and exposure had a Shakib Al Hasan and a Tamim Iqbal been around. He's still obviously a potential, but he may not have got that opportunity.
True, I think, and that's how we've seen stars are born, isn't it? Like, they make use of the opportunity. So I think Tamim and Shakib not being there, certainly he must have been fast tracked to this level, and now he has announced his arrival at the international level, showed that he can deliver under pressure, and really has shown those touches of a class player. He's got all round game, used his feet very well to spinners as well today, and good player of short ball as well. You've seen it with Khalil in the previous match where he put him under pressure. So that's something which shows that he's very well aware of his game plans. So certainly going forward now, he'll be pushing the guys, and that's what the bench strength or players who are waiting in the ranks usually think about, right? So you always got to be pushing the players who are representing your country, and when you have a good bunch of guys pushing the guys who are representing your country, you know that your cricket is moving forward.
I know we talk a lot about, we've all been focusing about India looking ahead for the T20, World T20 next year. I think Mohammad Naeem can get that boarding pass, Dhaka, Sydney.
Yeah,
don't think they have a direct flight yet, but whichever way they go. Dhaka, Singapore, Sydney.
He's on that flight. He's definitely on that flight. I can show you of that.
But coming back to India again, the big gains really, Deepak Chahar, man of the match and man of the series. Certainly contributed every single time with economy, and today with a bunch of wickets.
No, absolutely. I think he deserves to be there, and he did enough. And again, I think what's important is, what Zaheer will tell you much better, is his reading of the conditions. And that's the maturity of a bowler saying, okay, this is the pitch where I'm going to swing it and try and get wickets early. This is a pitch where I need to just hold back and let them try and hit me. That's important, I think.
And other gains that you'd have to look at, I mean, I think what you already touched upon, the big gain being not just the fact that he took wickets today, but played a different role. So you know that looking ahead, when the likes of Bumrah are back, can we use Chahar in different situations? You already say the answer is yes.
Yes, I think he has answered that very well today, and I think this will give a lot of confidence to the management for sure in terms of thinking or looking at Chahar in that fashion. And I'm telling you that when you have 5 bowlers who are able to play a role at any stage of the game, that makes captain's life easy as well. So that's something, if Indian bowling attack able to achieve that, then I think the impact which they've already been making at this level will be even more higher.
Plenty of positives. Now I did make a connection between India's first ODI hat-trick and first T20 international hat-trick, both being at Nagpur. Today's Joy Factor question also had a kind of story of 2 firsts.
The connection was, it's a story of first, and it's not just a story of first, it's a first which is connected with today. And if you have a look at the question, you'll see what it was. Which Indian cricketer is the only player to score a century on Test debut and a 50 on his ODI debut? And he made his ODI debut on this day in 1991 against South Africa, playing their first ever Test match. First ever ODI match, and he got a 50 in that. And of course, you remember Sachin was man of the match in there. And then he went and made the century on debut against South Africa, again playing their very first Test match. So a lot of history there, a lot of it connected with today. But Praveen Amre, think all the batsmen in the history, we have had so many great batsmen. Praveen is the only one who's done that. And yet his career may not be, say, compared to so many of the other illustrious batsmen.
And of course, for all our new generation, just remind them, first Test match on readmission.
On readmission.
Just in case they think South Africa is this new country that suddenly turned up in 1991.
I think it's fair enough. First Test match. You don't need to say that for one days, because I don't think one days were around when they were. But yes, definitely first test match for Ian Bridgman. Otherwise, people like Graham Pollock and all.
Yes, the Pollocks, the Barry Richards, all of them who were part of such a golden generation of South African cricket, going back to even Colin Bland, the predecessor to John T. Rhodes. But let's not digress. Let's go to our winner. Or should we actually have digressed and not talked about the winner today? Because fastest finger first was, guess who? Craig Rohit once again. Now we have to start figuring out a number of how many times he's ended up winning this particular award, because there is, of course, yeah, I mean, I've just been told that he answered it immediately. So it's as close to bang, fastest finger first. You're waiting for it, you hear the answer and type and go. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live.
Before we got off the set, basically.
Oh, well before. I think even before we finished and before I said my goodbyes and we were making our predictions, that's the point in time.
Okay, that's when the answer.
When we were doing
I
our
think
couch.
it's time that we should start Joy Factor stats.
Yes.
Who has been answering the most?
Maximum.
Well, we already
Hall
know
of
the
Fame.
answer to that. Who's the second most? Who's
Yeah.
the second most? Well, let's just one more time look back at how this series finished. It all started in the haze in Delhi in the first game. Not a great result for India. Bangladesh winning by 7 wickets. Not a huge total to chase, but it gave them a lot of hope. 8-0 before the series started, suddenly became 8-1, and then everything went to Rajkot. Convincing victory for India by 8 wickets there. Wanted to chase, they got to chase, and then in the decider, they lost the toss, put into bat, lost Rohit Sharma, who had been brilliant on the 7th of November, and then all came together at the end with a fantastic spell of bowling from the man of the series, Deepak Chahar. That's all we have from the T20 International Series. Everything now moves forward to the red and the pink ball. It starts with the red ball in Indore and moves to the pink ball in Kolkata. So it should be a huge change for Team India going forward into that, and for Team Bangladesh, of course.
Absolutely, first day-night match. I mean, everyone.
But even before that, it's going to be a day test, traditional day test, but it's going to be a transition from the shortest to the longest format for both teams.
Absolutely.
Is that easy? Because sometimes we go from T20 to ODIs to tests.
Longer the format, I think it gets easier to predict, isn't it? So from that point of view, you know that India should be able to seal the series and maintain the Test Championship race lead, which they've successfully taken it in a big way. So I think that should continue. But the exciting factor is first day-night Test match in India. So I think that's something which everyone will be looking forward to. How it pans out in subcontinent conditions, and how the response is. What are the changes? What are the tactics which usually change? So that's something which I'm looking forward to, because in the evening ball behaves differently, isn't it? So under lights, how it behaves, whether the stack up of the overs or the strategies change, how the fast bowlers are used, or how it changes over the course of 5 days. Is something interesting to understand. There's something new to look at. So I'm looking forward to the day-night Test match from that perspective.
I'm glad Zaheer Khan is being a little generous, saying it could possibly go 5 days.
Yeah, it could. A lot could happen. I mean, this pink ball is still enough of an unknown entity that we really don't know how it's going to behave under lights. And also remember, lights, Kolkata has very different wind conditions in the evening, and lots of stuff happen. I know that the one stand has gone up, so the breeze isn't as strong as it used to be, but still anything could happen. So yeah, it'll be interesting times. I don't know whether 5 days, 4 days, 3 days.
But the beauty of the fact that it's a second Test match. No matter how we try and steer the discussion to Indore, it's going to get ignored because of the fact that you've got a novelty coming in Kolkata. But we've talked about the pink ball. Let me just get a quick view on the fact that an SG pink ball is being used for the first time, because it was almost as if the only pink ball you could actually find was the Kookaburra.
Well, generally, I think it's going to have that extra bounce. That's what we've seen with the Kookaburra pink ball. So that's what I'm expecting from SG pink ball as well. And like I said, in terms of strategies, also it changes for sure in terms of how we approach the game. Usually, you have this set pattern. When you are playing in India, in terms of SG ball reversing. So here is that going to be a factor? How much spin it's going to come into play, because this pink ball will certainly be a bit different than what so far we've seen with the red SG ball. it definitely goes softer around 45, 50 overs. So will this be the same case with pink ball? So those are the things which I'm looking forward to. I think, I'm curious about observing those kind of things. I'm curious about how evening time is utilized, because that's something which will certainly give that extra bit of edge to the fast bowlers. And in a normal test match, you will not see that. Like, in a normal test match, usually captains wait for the second new ball to come. They'll hold their fast bowlers around that time. You'll see some part-timer also chipping in. Here, that will not be the case. So, so that changes the stack up of the overs. And in terms of batting also, that will certainly change, because in the afternoon is the best time to bat, right? So when your openers are batting around that time, what kind of approach they going to have? So, so there are enough. The whole dynamics is definitely going to change in terms of approaching a day-night test match. So that's something which I'll be looking with keen interest.
Yes, plenty to look forward to, and time to say thank you to both the gentlemen, Joy Bhattacharjya, Zaheer Khan. We're looking forward to some red ball cricket, some pink ball cricket, and of course, My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live will be back with more white ball cricket on the 6th of December, with India taking on the West Indies, and so much more to look ahead between this build-up, at least in this particular format and the ODI format, to plenty more cricket. So that's all we have from this series victory for Team India over Bangladesh, and I'll just leave you with the thoughts of Rohit Sharma, who, inspirational captain as he is, reminded the team when the chips were down that this is exactly what we are playing for, boys. Kept it simple, playing for the country, and they all did. They all stood up, and that was what made India win the series 2-1. That's all we have. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Good night.